All right, so let's go back in here and see if we can apply that texture. So this gets a little weird in the sense of how to apply textures compared to Unity. To me, it felt like Unity was a little bit more straightforward in the past, and there might be a better way. I'm still kind of again, I worked on Unreal on and off honestly since 2003, and when But, so over time, there's like little trinklets that are coming back into my brain. But when I spent the last, almost 3 years at Netflix, and then before that at different medical companies and then Amazon, I was using game engines that were similar to Unity or Unity itself. So it's kind of nice to get back in Unreal here. But let's take a look at materials. So what I generally do is inside of this art environment folder is I'll right click and I'll just create a new folder inside of here and call this materials. And it looks like we got a couple materials here. I'll just drag them in and select move here, and then remember to save all. And that kind of like saves your project like in Unity. And then what I want to do is right click in here and I want to create a new material. And then in this material, I want to call it window. And I go by MTRL, and that's for all of my projects. It's something that I learned before. Now, inside of this project itself, or this model rather, let's go back for a second. Or actually, you can see it down here. It's already based on the different objects that are selected. You can see that here, let me scroll back up. It actually has different materials on this. We have an element 1, element 2, element 3, but you might be like, well, what is the material that this corresponds to? Well, you could see this is Beach House Asset High. That was the big window material that we created, that imported. Then we have Beach House Asset Low, right? And that's material 4. And then we have this one, which is the Manny model, which, if you recall, we brought that into site size. And then we have this material 0. So if I grab this window material and I drop it in low here, you could see um, that this is window material low, which is one that we selected. So I'm going to actually double click this and just leave it off to the side here so we can see this setup. And what I want to do is just kind of show you step by step how this works. So let's go up one more and into our environment here. And remember that we have these two textures. I'm actually now a lot of times what they do is they'll make a separate textures folder. I personally, for my projects, I don't like to do it that way. And what I mean by they is when you're looking at Unreal or projects on Unity or sorry, on YouTube or something, you'll notice that they follow the same similar format to what Unreal uses. To me, and for my own studio, my own projects, I like to have everything contained. So I'll right click in here, I'll make a new folder, and I'll just call this, actually, I forget that this is not just the window, it's the assets. So I'll just call this assets material. And then I can always rename it for better, or assets. This is the assets folder. So let me rename that one more time. Um, come on, rename F2. You don't want to rename? Come on, rename. If it doesn't, we'll just move on. I'll do like I can do a hard press here. Let's see, maybe I can rename it off to the side here. Let's see. One last shot at this. There we go. So, and this will be just for the beach house asset. So let's do beach house assets. There we go. Okay, so now inside of beach house assets, I'll grab these two, move them in here, this here. And then we do want this to be a window. Well, this would be beach house material, but just for the sake of trying to move this along, I opened up my window material, which again, I could rename later. And I'm going to grab my color information here, and I'm just going to grab this RGB and put it in there. And I'm going to hit apply and save. And then inside of here, let's hope that, you know what, this might not even be the right one that's corresponding. Let's see if it applied it somewhere else. And the way to check that is if we go up to our environment here and we just open up this Beach House 01, we can actually, as we click on these, the highlight, let's see, let's expand this. It looks like this didn't even update here. So if I click highlight, this world grid material here is the one that corresponds, which is interesting. So if I go in here and we should dock that house. Let's bring that back. Let's see. Let's double click this. I'm just gonna dock this up here for a moment. And close this. And then for the, actually, let's do it this way. Let's put this here, bring this down. We'll just might have to flip between them. And let's see, highlight, or which one was that? That's this one. Let's go, it's this third one. All right. And then we could just bring up our content drawer down here. And let's see. Interesting. Let's see. Art, environment, materials, beach house assets. And was it this third one? Yeah, world, this one. Yeah, for some reason, Manny material. Interesting. So let's go in here and let's take a look at this. So this texture here is registered as a normal. Let's take it off and let's make sure it's set as a color. And let's apply and save that. And let's see, we gotta convert the texture itself. Let's go back. And let's go to materials, beach house. Let's double click this. And then inside of here, compression settings, normal, we want to do default. Let's see. And did it save? Switched over. So we want to save that. It's linear color rather. Sorry. Let's make that linear color. Let's do BC7, which is RGB and alpha. And let's save that. All right. And then what I want to do here is in my beach house, what you might have to do is either close it or reopen it, or if it doesn't show up, grab your window material and then drag it back into that slot, and that should make it pop up. Now let's save that. Let's go back to our level. Now you can see it looks like, what's with this cube here? Interesting. Okay, so we have our texture here, but you're like, well, where's that height information for the normal map that we were looking at before, right? That faked that the geometry was there. Let's go back into our window material and set that up too. So where we have this normal slot here, let's go back to our content drawer. And I'm just going to drag my normal material here, and I'm going to grab that RGBA, and I'm going to plug that right into normal. And I'm going to, let's see if we can find it. Now you could see that we could see that fake height information. Just don't forget to save it. And then don't forget to save your level either. And now we have you could see we have the shadow there, right? So based on our lighting, because right now this is kind of in the dark part. Let's see. Let's see if we can get, let's see, here's our level. And let's see, let's go to our BP level lighting here. And let's select, for example, I don't know, like our directional light here. And under rotation, we can rotate it a little bit, and you could see as we move that, you get a little bit more of that shadow information. Again, the window doesn't have any real reflections or anything just yet. But as we rotate this around, see that? You could see that the highlight or the shadow information, right? Just going to zoom in here a little bit. All right. And let's say we do something like that, you could see it's there. So even when we press play and we go in game, even from a distance, you could see we have that fake shadow info. Now, the point is to just kind of teach you the individual elements of textures. Like we'll get into metallic and roughness, which creates like a actual reflected window. But now we've covered albedo, which is the color, the normal map, which fakes height geometry. And what I was going to say is for your homework assignment, what I'm going to require you to do is just create a color in a normal map for another piece that is a flat box that goes in your scene. So let's take a look at the reference to see if we could identify some of those things. So here I have pure ref, and I think for a good assignment for this week would be if you wanted to take a stab at creating this window here with the hole, or you could create these tapestries, or if you have a lot of time on your hand and you really want this to be a great portfolio piece, you could maybe create this chimney, right? Like you'd create a bunch of stones, and I'll kind of get you started on this right now, because it's a little bit more of an advanced piece. Trying to think of what else. These little boxes here that, and then with like maybe a heart, you would create little cubes here and push them in there. You'd inset this face, and I think in um, the next lesson or the next module, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a couple of these and texture them. It'll be a little bit longer module than this one, because this one we kind of need to just practice it. So yeah, so you pick one of these elements and that'll be your homework assignment to create a color and a normal map for. All right, I think that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it wasn't too confusing at certain parts.